let's put together our saxophones. Hi, I'm a music teacher and this is my life. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and welcome for those of you who might be new here. In my last video, I was talking about the 5 very common mistakes that I see beginner saxophonists make and how to fix them. Well, I got called out in the comments saying that the way that I set up the mouthpiece, reed, and ligature was not the best way to prevent reed damage. And since I am not a saxophonist in terms of my primary instrument, I'm actually kind of grateful that someone let me know in the comments what they do. So I'm going to show you how I've typically done it and how this commenter says that we should do it. And hopefully you're going to have less reed damage. But before we get started, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. So like I said, I was called out in the comments, and so I'm hoping that this video is helpful. Like I said, I'm going to show you both ways. I'm just going to let you know, though, that at the time of filming this, I was actually going to post a different video all about how to assemble and put together the saxophone, and it was edited and ready to go, and this comment actually led me to scrap it and make this one instead. So I hope you find it helpful. But first, let's start by putting on our neck strap. My neck strap's here. Make sure that you get any clothing, hair, anything that'll make it uncomfortable out of the way. Now let's grab the body of the saxophone. Now I'm using a student model Yamaha saxophone, but if you have a tenor, bari, really any type of saxophone, the setup has a lot of similarities, so feel free to follow along. So what I'm going to do is clip this to the bottom of the saxophone. Now for the sake of this video, I'm not actually going to have the reed in my mouth because it's easier to talk without it. But if you're getting ready to play for a practice session or a rehearsal or something like that, then this is where you'd want to have the reed in your mouth so that it's getting wet, so that it's going to be able to vibrate when you play. I'm going to adjust my neck strap just so the height feels a little more comfortable. Now I'm going to put the neck on the top of my saxophone. So I have the neck of my saxophone and I've already sort of loosened that top screw right here. So now I am able to put the neck on. Remember, I hold the bell with my hand so that I'm not squeezing on any of the keys. And I try to make sure that the neck is at the right angle. I'll do like a little bit of a test here. I just hold it as if I were going to play, leaving some space for the mouthpiece, but just to make sure that the angle's right. And so far, so good. I can always make some adjustments later if I need to. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab the mouthpiece. So I've already taken my mouthpiece out of my case and disassembled it, so the ligature is off, the cap is off, and now I have a pretty naked looking mouthpiece. And this is a Yamaha 4C, it's a pretty standard beginner mouthpiece. So I like to put this on the saxophone without a ligature or reed, so that way I'm able to twist and adjust it without having to possibly replace the reed, no twisting of the reed and ligature, and I'm not squeezing onto the metal posts either. Do a quick check here, hold it up. Feels pretty good in the mouth and underneath the teeth, so I think I'm okay. Yeah, so I think I'm okay for now. So now I'm going to show you 2 different ways of setting up the ligature and the reed. The first one is the way that I'm the most used to doing. So taking your reed, what I've done in the past is with the mouthpiece, I try to line up the reed with the mouthpiece and leave a hair thin black plastic line just above the reed. Now it's actually kind of hard for me to see from this angle because my piano is in the background and it is a dark wood color. So it's a little tricky to see. But you can sort of see a very, very, very thin black line right there. I hold the reed in place with my left hand, that's my non-dominant hand. Then I take the ligature and I place it on to the mouthpiece. Now notice when I do that, I've taken my one hand off. I'm sort of showing you that I do everything I can to make sure that the reed does not touch the ligature, particularly the very end of the reed, until the ligature goes on. So I'm holding it in place with my non-dominant hand's thumb. I need to make a couple more adjustments to these little screws. But since I'm holding it in place at the bottom with my left thumb, it's out of the way. Then I can tighten it. Now, if you have like a leather ligature or something else, then that's totally fine. Now, when I line it up, I make any necessary adjustments. So do I have to move the neck? Do I need to adjust the neck strap? I just did a little bit. My reed's a little dry. Let's see how it sounds. This is also an older reed, but it doesn't sound that bad. Now I'm going to show you the setup that I think one of you out there in the comments suggested to us. So before we do that, I want to go ahead and read the comment that was left and then see if I've interpreted that comment correctly. But let me know in the comments what you think. Love learning new things from you guys. So at Thomas O. Muller 7995 wrote, the way you mount the reed and it says ligature, I think you mean ligature, is the best way to damaging the tip of the reed with the ligature. The safe way is to first mount the ligature and then mount the reed backwards from above. So I'm going to do everything I can to try and interpret that properly. But let's get started. So Thomas says to first mount the ligature and not the reed. So I'm going to go ahead and I have my ligature. I'm going to go ahead and just place that right here. Now I'm going to read the last part of that comment one more time. The comment then reads, first mount the ligature and then mount the reed backwards from above. So I'm assuming that when it says backwards, it doesn't mean with the round edge against the mouthpiece, because that does not make any logical sense. You're not going to have a good seal cutting off the air so that it forces the air to move on the reed. What I think he means is not backwards from above, but just from above. So you need to make sure that your ligature is already fairly loose. And I'm actually going to show you that there's a lot of space right here to show you how loosely I have undone those screws on the ligature. So mount the ligature first. Okay. Now I'm going to keep the flat part of the reed, this side, up against the mouthpiece. Backwards from above. So from above would be that way, but I dropped my reed. So I'm going to go get it and I'll be right back. Okay, so I might need to actually loosen this because as you just saw, I dropped my reed, and that is not good because especially if I'm in a room with other people, like a reed falling on the floor in a band room is really unsanitary, especially when this goes in your mouth and it's wet if you just had it in your mouth. But backwards from above, I'm not really seeing that working here. Like, am I going to do it? The way that I've done it was reed, then ligature. What he's suggesting is ligature and then reed, but backwards from above, I don't know if that works. It certainly isn't working for me. I'm going to try to loosen it even more. And let's see, backwards from above. Either this person wasn't explaining it correctly or my ligature is just too small. I'm not sure. But this is an alto ligature that came with the instrument. So in theory, this should work on my instrument. I'm going to go ahead and try this a different way where I'm going to take the neck off of my saxophone. So just to have a little bit more control, I've gone ahead and removed the neck from the instrument for now. So if I put the ligature on first, and then put the reed on backwards from above, in theory, again, it should fit. And also, it could actually help prevent the very end of the reed getting damaged because you're not putting the metal over the top of the reed, which according to this comment is a no-go, but you're putting in the bottom part, which is a lot thicker through the ligature instead of that very thin part. So let's try it. I really hope that this works because if so, this is going to be a great place for me to learn as well. So I'm really trying to not like mess this up. So there's definitely a learning curve to this. So maybe you can see why some beginners may prefer the one that I showed you. I'm going to try my best. I'm really trying to hold the ligature still with my other hand. The reed's just not fitting through the mouthpiece. Maybe I shouldn't have scrapped my old video. You can follow along with all the steps that are in this video. I'm like really loosening the ligature, like, okay. Oh, okay, I can expand the ligature. Okay, so my ruling is that this is not very easy. I've seen people do this on a mouthpiece and then using like a leather kind of ligature as opposed to a metal one. That video claims that it could be used on any, but I'm just having a really hard time with this. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I mean, I've watched people do it. I've seen a demonstration, so I know it's possible. I definitely don't want to put the end of the reed up because that's not very safe at all. Okay, so that way works, but that's not the way that was suggested to me. I'm gonna go ahead and take that off. They're saying ligature first. And I've also seen someone do it with the neck on. Like the neck being on and off should not affect my ability to do this. And I don't want to take that part of the reed in my hand. That's going to break the end. So the thick part of the reed in first. Okay, I got it. We all saw it. I finally got it in there. And then I slide the reed down the mouthpiece and then I can make adjustments. Okay, so now I can sort of adjust the reed. Again, trying to leave a very thin black line so that the reed's not sticking out over the top of the ligature. I'm going to go ahead now and tighten up the screws. I will say one challenge with this is that because I had to loosen the screws so much in this one that it's taking me longer to assemble my saxophone. So you definitely want to make sure that you are early to a rehearsal or a practice if you are going to be doing this method. I'm sure it gets easier over time. And it's the same reed. Let's try again. Pretty good. So that's pretty much how to put your saxophone together. I want to just warn everyone, and this is something I mentioned in my beginner mistakes video, the one thing you don't want to do is put the whole mouthpiece together and then put it on the neck, because if you're trying to twist and adjust the mouthpiece on the neck with a pre-assembled ligature and reed, it could cause cracking if you're squeezing really hard, if you're like not careful with the very end of the reed. So I hope you found this video helpful. Happy practicing. And just so that you know, option A, the way that I showed you before, is also an okay option. And I think option B is fine. It takes maybe a little bit of learning and practice, and maybe more advanced players are just more used to it than I am. But happy practicing. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and give us a follow on Instagram as well. And I'll see you right back on this channel with another video very soon. Bye, everyone.